Hi everyone, my name is John. I am on the DevRel team here at Arize, and today I'm going to walk you through annotations and some of the new updates that we've added as part of Phoenix version 9.0.0. If you're unfamiliar, Phoenix is our open source platform, and so everything I'm going to show you here today is running on my local host. It's totally free and open source to go use. So in the use case that we're going to walk through here, we're going to have a chatbot that's going to be interacted with by multiple different users, and we're going to collect annotations from our users, from LLMs, and then we're going to add our own human annotations as well too on top of this. So let's jump in. So for our example here, we're going to use a fairly straightforward example where we have an encyclopedia chatbot that multiple different users can interact with at the same time. Say I have a study group, I'm in university and I'm wanting to learn about a certain area, and I've got an encyclopedia chatbot that my whole study group can interact with at the same time. And so we might ask a question like, tell me about, or let's say, tell us about the Battle of Hastings. And we'll get a response back from our model there. And it gives us a good response, 1066. That seems right to me. So I'm going to say I like that response. And I'm going to give it a thumbs up. And that will get logged back into Phoenix, and we'll show that there. Now let's say that somebody else in my group is looking at the same response. They are going to be maybe user number 3. And they're actually a little bit more of a history buff. They realize that there's a mistake in this response, or they think there is. And so they're going to log back a thumbs down. And so now previously in Phoenix, before this new iteration, we wouldn't have been able to log the same, different values of the same annotation to the same trace. So we wouldn't have been able to capture both of those things at once. And so it meant that you couldn't log multiple annotations of the same kind to the same trace. Now we've unlocked that limit. So if I go back and look at our most recent trace here, and I can click in and see this is my prompt here. You can see tell me about the Battle of Hastings. This is all automatically instrumented and captured for me. And then you'll see there's actually 3 annotations that are attached to it. You'll also notice there's a correctness one. We'll come back to that in a second. And then the user feedback, and it's 50-50. So you see we're actually splitting and calculating the mean score there for what that would be because we have 2 different values. So you can see both of our user feedback values here. So we have a thumbs up and a thumbs down with scores attached. And you can actually see we've added the user identifiers here to differentiate those. There's also some metadata that we can add in there as well too. Now, something that we've also gone through and we've done is we've triggered this to run a correctness check, basically using an LLM if we ever get a thumbs down from a user. So this is something we've built into our chatbot to bring in a different kind of annotator here, which is an LLM annotator. The third kind that we'd also have would be we'd have a code-based annotator where we can do code checks and things like that. So the idea here is if a user thumbs down a response, we want our study bot to go actually double check that response, use an LLM judge, see if it's correct, which in this case, it looks like it was based on our response there. So now what we can do is we can capture a bunch of these different traces, and you'll see cases where users have given positive feedback, negative feedback, kind of mixed feedback, all shown to you here as we look through this. And then we'll also have kind of these correctness evals from our LLMs as judges. And so we could use this to filter down and actually create a data set. For example, we might want to create a data set for cases where we've gotten poor user feedback and we've gotten an incorrect response. So start off by saying, looking at our incorrect response, and so I'm going to say when our score is 0 for correctness, we want to surface these up. So we can see in this case, this is a complex reasoning puzzle here that our user or our chatbot got wrong. So from here, we could take this and we could create a data set of these examples. And we could say new data set, we'll call this our failed responses. And we could actually use this to then become our new testing set, our new set that we train with or we test with to make sure that we get these just correctly. So now with my failed examples here, I could run an experiment on these. I could bring them into the playground and start trying different responses and different attempts at answering these as well too, as we go through and test off of our different cases. Now, another piece that we've added into Phoenix version 9.0 is the ability to add in different annotation configurations. So if you look here, if we click into one of these examples, you'll see that we have this new window here to configure annotation configurations. So if I click into that, you'll see we already have a couple different annotations in here that have been pre-established by the calls that we've sent in. So you can see we have a response quality, which is continuous from 0 to 1, and we had a correctness, which is from either correct or incorrect. And so now we can add another one here, and we can create whatever kind we want. We could say, we'll say this is on topic. So, or we'll say it's relevant. That's a better way to say that. And so, and this is going to be categorical again, instead of continuous or free form. And we want to maximize this. We want the better score to be higher. And so we're going to say our two labels are relevant, which is going to be a 1, and irrelevant, it's going to be a 0. And so now I can create that. And now we've got a new continuous or a new categorical score. And so if I go back into our project, we can now attach that as an annotation. So we could say we're going to add an annotation here, and you'll see we have all the different options that we've configured so far. So we'll call this one, and this is going to be relevant here. So now one other thing that you'll notice is as that pops up, we have another new feature here, which is some hotkeys that we've added. So one thing that we've made a little bit easier here is I can now use hotkeys to just flip between my traces as I bounce up and down here. You can see I'm using J and K to bounce back and forth. And I can even go and I can add annotations just directly in here using purely my hotkeys. I could even add notes as well below. And so the idea here is we can start to use these to annotate and to add notes and kind of collaborate on our traces as you have more people interacting with your project as we create these different pieces here. I hope you've enjoyed this look at some of the new things that we've added in Phoenix version 9.0. We're really excited about some of the workflows that this can unlock. Things like having multiple users giving feedback on traces simultaneously, or multiple of your team members hopping into the Phoenix dashboard, leaving notes, leaving their own kind of feedback on these traces as you use these to better understand how your application is performing. Hope you've enjoyed this look and happy annotating. We'll see you in the next one.